Have you ever stopped to wonder why certain people suddenly appear in your life? As if guided by some invisible hand? Why a stranger's small act of kindness can linger in your heart for years? Or how someone you once trusted shattered your spirit, yet somehow, through all that pain, led you to your greatest personal growth? Why is it that a fleeting encounter with someone you barely knew can feel more meaningful than relationships you've held for a lifetime? Buddhist wisdom quietly reminds us of a truth that many of us overlook in the rush of daily life: no one crosses your path by accident. Every person you meet, every relationship you experience, and every moment of connection is a carefully woven thread in the vast, sacred tapestry of your becoming. Some people arrive in your life to awaken dormant parts of your soul, parts you didn't even know were sleeping. Others come to test your strength, to challenge the walls you've built around your heart. A few precious ones appear to love you, and some arrive to teach you how to finally, truly love yourself. These souls aren't always meant to stay. In fact, many of them are just passing through, like leaves carried by the wind. But whether their visit is brief or enduring, they always leave something behind: a lesson, a subtle shift, a reminder of who you truly are and what your soul came here to learn. The moment you stop viewing people as random characters in your story and begin to recognize them as reflections, guides, and mirrors for your own growth, something miraculous happens. The confusion and pain begin to make sense. The healing begins. You start living with open eyes, a softer heart, and a deeper understanding of the sacred design unfolding behind every connection you've ever known. In Buddhist wisdom, every soul is a teacher, even the ones who wound you. While we often imagine teachers as serene, kind figures offering wisdom in gentle words, life tends to send us the most powerful teachers in far more difficult forms. They might come wrapped in heartbreak, betrayal, or bitter disappointment, and though their presence can feel cruel, their purpose isn't to ruin your spirit, it's to reveal the unhealed parts within you that are quietly asking for your attention. When someone hurts you, it's natural to ask, "Why me? What did I do to deserve this?" But from a higher, wiser perspective, these painful moments are not punishments. They are invitations to shine a light on the hidden corners of your being, your craving for approval, your attachment to outcomes, your fear of standing alone. And here's the beautiful, uncomfortable truth: these wounds often remain invisible until someone triggers them. But once triggered, they can finally be acknowledged. And once acknowledged, they can be healed. Think about it. That person who constantly criticizes you might be showing you just how much your self-worth depends on others' validation. The one who abandoned you might be forcing you to discover the inner strength you've had all along. Now, this doesn't mean their hurtful actions were justified. It doesn't mean what they did was right. But it does mean their presence served a deeper, sacred purpose in your life's unfolding. The true transformation begins the moment you shift your question from "Why did this happen to me?" to "What is this trying to teach me?" That single change in perspective turns pain into wisdom, and transforms suffering into self-awareness. Suddenly, the person you once saw as your enemy becomes a mirror, reflecting the areas within yourself still longing for healing, for love, for wholeness. Buddhist wisdom gently encourages us to understand that nothing is wasted. Not even pain, not even heartbreak. Every encounter, every hurt, every scar has the potential to become a lesson, if you are willing to look a little deeper. When you start seeing every soul, even the difficult ones, as a teacher sent to shape you, life softens. It becomes less about blame and more about learning. And it is through this new lens that true healing begins. Because even the sharpest pain, when faced with awareness and compassion, can transform into the strongest wisdom, if you allow it to. Some people arrive simply to awaken the parts of you that have fallen silent. Have you ever met someone whose presence stirred something in you without them even trying? A forgotten spark of creativity. A burst of long-lost confidence. A feeling of joy you hadn't tasted since childhood. These moments aren't accidents. In Buddhist teaching, it's understood that every being is interconnected. Our growth happens not in isolation, but through the subtle, powerful influences of others. Certain people enter your life like a flicker of light in a dark room. They help you remember what you've carried inside you all along. And whether they stay for a while or only pass through, their presence marks a turning point in your journey, one that was written in the quiet script of the universe long before you ever met. As we touched on before, some souls arrive in our lives not to stay, but to quietly awaken parts of us we had long forgotten, hidden beneath layers of fear, routine, and doubt. Maybe it's something as simple, yet as precious, as joy, the kind of pure, effortless joy you haven't felt since you were a child, when the world was still a place of wonder and every small discovery felt like magic. These people often enter our lives without fanfare. There's no announcement, no dramatic entrance, and yet, the effect they leave behind is powerful and unforgettable. In the teachings of Buddhism, there's a deep and beautiful understanding that every being is interconnected. No one walks the path of life entirely alone. Our growth, our transformation, and our awakening are shaped by the energy, the presence, and the subtle influence of others. We learn through each other, rise because of one another, and remember ourselves in the reflection of those we meet. Some people come into your life like a match struck in the darkness. Suddenly, the room of your soul is lit up, and you can see parts of yourself you had long forgotten, dreams you buried, confidence you abandoned, the quiet bravery you left behind when life became too heavy. Their presence doesn't always last long. They might be a dear friend, a passing stranger, a compassionate mentor, or someone you meet just once in a fleeting moment, yet somehow, in that short time, they activate something inside you that has been waiting for the right spark to awaken. Perhaps you cross paths with someone who lives boldly, unapologetically following their heart, and in watching them, you realize how long you've been playing small, shrinking your truth to stay safe. Or maybe someone expresses love in a way you've never dared to believe possible, openly, fearlessly, without expectation, and in that, you learn what it means to receive without suspicion, without fear of being hurt. It's important to understand, these people don't come to change you. No one can truly change the essence of your soul. Instead, they gently help you rediscover the parts of yourself you abandoned along the way. They pull back the curtain on your own potential, revealing the light you carried inside all along. At first, you might not even recognize the purpose of their arrival. It might take months, or even years, before you fully realize how deeply they've touched your life. But when you look back, and you will, you'll notice something shifted the moment they entered your world. A part of you came alive again. And that awakening? It was no accident. In Buddhist wisdom, this is often described as a kind of spiritual unfolding, a gentle blooming of the soul when the right energies meet at the right time. Their role isn't to complete you, because you were never incomplete to begin with. Their purpose is to remind you of your own wholeness. They don't bring magic into your life, they reveal the magic that was always there, patiently waiting for you to remember it. And even if they leave, even if the connection naturally fades or life's circumstances pull you apart, their imprint remains, because they were never meant to stay forever. Their role was simple yet sacred, to reintroduce you to the parts of yourself you had forgotten. And in doing so, guide you into a more authentic, more expansive version of who you truly are. And then, there are the difficult ones. It's easy, isn't it, to feel gratitude for the kind, supportive people in our lives, those who lift us, understand us, and offer safety. But what about the ones who frustrate us? The ones who seem to challenge our peace at every turn? Who push our buttons, or awaken emotions we thought we'd left behind? In Buddhist wisdom, these individuals aren't just random inconveniences. In fact, they might be among the most important people you'll ever meet. Why? Because they are mirrors, clear, sometimes painful, reflections of what still needs healing within us. When someone constantly irritates you, it's rarely only about their behavior. More often, it's about what their behavior stirs inside you. That reaction you feel, whether it's anger, sadness, resentment, or fear, is a signal. It's pointing to an old, unresolved wound, a part of you that hasn't fully made peace. Maybe they make you feel invisible. And deep down, that awakens your old fear of being overlooked or forgotten. Maybe they dismiss your opinions. And it brings back memories of not feeling worthy or valued. Whatever the trigger, their presence shines a light on the exact places where your inner work remains unfinished. As we explored before, the people who trigger our deepest emotions often aren't here to torment us, they're mirrors, reflecting the parts of ourselves still waiting to be healed. Maybe they speak down to you, and instantly, you feel a familiar sting, a quiet reminder of those past moments when you felt invisible, unworthy, or dismissed. Their words and actions become like a spotlight, illuminating the hidden places within you where your inner work remains unfinished. Instead of asking, "Why are they like this?" a far more powerful question emerges: "Why does this affect me so deeply?" That simple shift in thinking moves you from a place of blame to a place of growth. You begin to see clearly that these difficult people didn't enter your life to break you down. They came, perhaps unknowingly, to reveal something about yourself, to hold up a mirror so you could finally see the wounds you've been carrying. In Buddhist teaching, we're encouraged to become gentle observers of our thoughts and emotions, not slaves to them. Instead of reacting impulsively or defensively, we're invited to study these emotions with curiosity, patience, and compassion. When someone triggers you, it isn't necessarily their fault. It's an invitation, a doorway. Your emotional response isn't random, it's a message from within. It's your soul's quiet way of saying, "Look here, this is a place where you're still holding pain. This is a wound you've been carrying for too long." And the truth is, every one of us walks through life with emotional baggage, old traumas, buried memories, deeply rooted beliefs shaped in childhood. But much of it stays dormant, unnoticed, until someone unknowingly pokes at it. And often, frustratingly, that person is someone you'd rather avoid entirely. Someone you wish would simply disappear from your life. But what if their presence is exactly what your spirit needs right now? Not to punish you, but to help you grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace with yourself. Of course, this doesn't mean you have to tolerate harmful behavior, or allow others to cross your boundaries. Compassion, in Buddhist wisdom, includes compassion for yourself. Boundaries are not a rejection of others, but an act of self-respect. While you protect your peace, though, it's also essential to reflect. What part of my inner world are they disturbing? What fear, belief, or buried memory have they unknowingly awakened in me? When you learn to view these difficult people not as enemies, but as unexpected spiritual messengers, everything starts to shift. You stop pouring your energy into trying to change them. You begin, instead, to transform yourself. You grow more aware, more centered, and more in control of your own sense of calm and clarity. Some of the hardest people you will ever meet might offer you the clearest, most unfiltered view of your own inner landscape. And when you find the courage to face what they reflect, without judgment, but with quiet presence, you take a profound step toward emotional freedom. Because in the end, the real battle was never between you and them. It was always between the part of you longing for peace and the part of you still clinging to the belief that others are responsible for giving it to you. And then, there are those other souls, the ones we feel an unexplainable pull toward. For reasons we can't quite name. Times when you find yourself irresistibly drawn to someone. A sudden connection, a feeling, a deep familiarity. Or even an uncomfortable bond you just can't seem to walk away from. No matter how hard you try. According to Buddhist wisdom, these are often signs of karmic relationships. These people don't just stumble into your life by chance. They return to you, crossing your path once more, woven tightly into the threads of your spiritual journey. They appear to help you settle old debts, rebalance unfinished stories, and close ancient, lingering cycles that your soul still carries. Karma, in its true essence, isn't about reward or punishment. It's about energy. Every action, every intention, every spoken word, and every thought leaves a subtle imprint, like footprints left in the soft sand of your soul. And sometimes, those imprints don't fade until they've been understood, transformed, or consciously released. That's why, when someone reappears in your life, or when you find yourself stuck in a repeating emotional pattern, it might not be about what's happening now. It could be an echo, the distant call of something your spirit has carried through time. You may feel deeply bonded to someone who seems to test you in all the wrong ways. Perhaps they push your patience, spark jealousy, or awaken an old, familiar ache of abandonment. At first, it's easy to believe they are the problem. But look deeper. In Buddhist belief, these connections aren't random misfortunes. They're sacred reflections of unfinished energy, lingering wounds, or lessons from your past, gently, sometimes painfully, returning so you can finally understand, grow, and release them. As we explored before, these karmic relationships aren't punishments, they are sacred opportunities. They arrive to help you finally understand, to grow beyond old patterns, and to release what your spirit no longer needs to carry. Think of it this way: if your soul is holding a debt, whether it's emotional, energetic, or spiritual, life has a gentle yet persistent way of guiding you into the situations and relationships where you can face that unfinished business. It's not always easy, and it rarely happens on your schedule, but it always arrives at exactly the right time for your healing. Perhaps you've noticed someone who seems to drift in and out of your life, hurting you in familiar, painful ways, over and over again. It might feel confusing or even cruel, but Buddhist wisdom reminds us that this person could be a soul you once loved, or perhaps wronged, or were wronged by in a past chapter of existence. And now, in this lifetime, your meeting is no coincidence. It's not random, it's a sacred opportunity to finally break the cycle, not through bitterness, but through forgiveness, honesty, and growth. This doesn't mean you are expected to keep toxic or harmful people in your life. Boundaries are acts of compassion too. But before you cut someone off in anger or fall into endless blame, pause for a moment. Ask yourself gently, what lesson is my soul trying to learn through this connection? What pain, attachment, or old wound is asking to be healed here, not ignored or buried, but truly seen and released? Karmic relationships often feel intense and emotionally charged, precisely because the energy they carry is ancient. You might not even fully grasp the depth of it right away. Some of these connections are beautiful, souls who return to you to help repay karma with kindness, with gentleness, with healing. Others arrive in far more difficult, uncomfortable forms. They test you, challenge you, stir your deepest fears. Yet even these difficult souls carry a sacred role, to push you toward clarity, resilience, and inner closure. Regardless of how these people arrive, whether they offer you love or pain, comfort or challenge. Their presence in your life is never a meaningless accident. It is sacred. Your soul recognized them long before your conscious mind ever did. And while their presence might not be easy to accept, it will be meaningful if you meet it with mindfulness and openness. To repay karma is not simply to endure suffering. It is to complete a chapter of your story, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. It is to choose forgiveness where resentment once lived, to walk away with love instead of anger, and most importantly, to free yourself from the exhausting, repeating cycles that have weighed down your heart. When you do this, you step forward lighter, clearer, and far closer to the peace your spirit has been seeking. In the end, some souls are not meant to walk beside you forever. They come to help you finish something ancient, something your soul has carried across lifetimes, so that you can finally begin something new, untethered, unburdened, and at peace. And this brings us to another quiet truth. While the world around us often teaches that the value of a relationship lies in how long it lasts, Buddhist wisdom invites us to see it differently. It offers a softer, wiser, and far more liberating perspective. We're told that the most meaningful connections are the ones that endure, that people who leave were never meant to matter, and that lasting presence equals deeper importance. But what if that isn't always true? What if some of the most important people you'll ever meet are the ones who stay only for a season, or perhaps for a single, fleeting moment? Think for a moment about the people who have come into your life and then left. Some left suddenly, others drifted away slowly. At the time, it might have felt confusing, heartbreaking, or even senseless. You may have found yourself asking, "Why did they come into my life, only to leave so soon?" But consider this: that question assumes that the only purpose of a connection is to stay. What if, instead, their purpose was to shift something inside you? To break open a part of yourself that had long been closed? To teach you a lesson you were finally ready to receive? Or to remind you of a truth you had long since forgotten? Some souls appear not to walk beside you for years, but to spark a quiet transformation in a single instant. And sometimes, that's exactly what your spirit needs most. As we reflected earlier, not every soul who crosses your path is meant to stay forever. Some appear just long enough to awaken something within you before quietly stepping away. There are people who arrive when your spirit is restless, though you may not even realize it. You're lost in routine, caught in the familiar patterns of your days, unaware of how disconnected you've become from your deeper self. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, someone appears. They offer you a new way to look at the world. Or perhaps, a new way to truly see yourself. Maybe they inspire you to finally follow a dream you had quietly buried beneath fear and doubt. Maybe they help you believe in love again, just when you'd convinced yourself it no longer existed. Perhaps they challenge you to confront a painful truth you've been avoiding for years. And then, when their role in your life is complete, life gently moves them away, not as a punishment, but as an act of perfect, divine timing. In Buddhist thought, impermanence is one of the most essential truths of existence. Everything changes, everything shifts. Clinging to people who were only meant to stay for a chapter inevitably creates suffering. But when you learn to honor their purpose, accept their temporary presence, and release them with gratitude, you step into freedom. These temporary people are not mistakes. They are sacred visitors, arriving at precisely the right moment to offer you a gift, sometimes through joy, sometimes through pain. And when their purpose is fulfilled, they leave. It doesn't mean they didn't care. It doesn't mean the bond was false. In many cases, the love was entirely real, and the connection was deeply genuine. But the journey you shared was never meant to be permanent, and that's okay. Not every person is meant to be a forever person. Some are like lightning bolts in the darkness, brief, brilliant, and unforgettable. They light the way forward when you've forgotten how to move. Others are like stepping stones across a river. You needed them to cross, to reach the next part of your journey. But you can't stand on those stones forever. It takes wisdom to recognize that just because something ends doesn't mean it failed. And it takes emotional maturity to honor a temporary connection without bitterness, without clinging, and without regret. When you look back at those who came and went, don't ask yourself, why did they leave? Instead, ask, what did they leave behind within me? What did they awaken in your heart? What lesson did they quietly offer you about your desires, your values, your boundaries? You may discover that some of the most unforgettable, life-changing lessons came from people you no longer speak to, and that is perfectly natural. The soul's journey was never about collecting permanent possessions or unchanging relationships. It has always been about gathering moments of awareness, moments of transformation, and moments of truth. Those are the things that stay with you, even when people don't. So the next time someone enters your life and then leaves, don't see it as something gone wrong. See it as a sacred door, meant to open and close at precisely the right moment. Trust that both their arrival and their departure were part of the same perfect, invisible design. And most of all, remember this: the impact a person makes in your life is never measured by how long they stood beside you, but by how deeply they helped you become who you were always meant to be. Let go of the craving for permanence. Embrace the beauty of presence. And honor those souls who came only for a fleeting moment, but left you with something that will quietly, beautifully last a lifetime. As we've reflected, not every connection is meant to be easy or lasting. Some arrive to challenge you, to stir your heart, and to quietly ask whether you're ready to choose yourself. So often, the reason these connections feel so intense isn't because they're rooted in destiny or fate. It's because they awaken parts of you that have been silenced for too long. Parts that were too afraid to speak up, too cautious to say no, or too fearful to walk away. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many times have you allowed someone to cross a line in your life just to avoid an uncomfortable moment of conflict? How many times have you quieted that small voice within, your intuition, simply to preserve a relationship that no longer felt true? And how often have you mistaken disrespect for kindness, or explained away emotional manipulation by telling yourself it was love? These aren't just mistakes in relationships. They are spiritual checkpoints. They are sacred opportunities life offers to ask you, will you finally choose yourself? Will you honor your own worth? The truth is, boundaries are not walls. They are doors. And doors serve two beautiful purposes. They show people how to enter your life with respect. And they also show them when not to enter at all. But you can't build a strong door until you first recognize where your house, your inner world, has been left wide open. And often, the ones who storm in uninvited, bringing disorder and pain, are the very ones revealing where you need to place that door. That person who consistently disrespected your time. They taught you just how precious your time truly is. The one who constantly drained your energy. They helped you see that your energy is sacred and worth protecting. And the person who loved you only when it was convenient for them. They revealed that real love isn't based on conditions or convenience, it's rooted in presence, respect, and sincerity. In Buddhist wisdom, the idea of compassion is often misunderstood. True compassion doesn't mean accepting everything, tolerating harm, or sacrificing your peace for the sake of appearances. It means acting from a place of love, and that love must include yourself. Genuine compassion is having the strength to say, I see your pain, but I will not let it consume me. I wish you healing, but I must protect my peace. And sometimes, the most loving, Most compassionate act you can offer, both to yourself and to them, is to quietly walk away. Not out of hate, not out of anger, but out of wisdom, not to punish, but to preserve the self that's finally waking up within you. These relationships that test your boundaries are not meaningless. They are sacred mirrors, revealing exactly where you've been neglecting yourself. They show you the places where your self-love was still conditional, where fear spoke louder than truth, and where you were still willing to trade your peace for temporary approval. They shatter the illusion that love must always mean sacrifice, or that kindness requires silence. And the moment you begin to recognize these patterns for what they are, everything changes. You stop giving your precious energy and power away to people who don't honor it. You begin to evolve, becoming the kind of person who no longer simply demands respect, but lives it. You learn the wisdom of the pause. Before saying yes, you pause to check in with yourself. You begin to listen to the subtle discomfort in your body, to honor that quiet no that rises in your chest when something feels wrong. Most importantly, you learn that boundaries aren't barriers to love, they're bridges. Bridges that allow for authentic, meaningful connection, because only when you fully honor your own space can the right people truly meet you there. Some of the people you encounter on your path won't be meant to stay. They won't walk with you through every season. They won't celebrate your healing or grow beside you. But they will serve a higher, sacred purpose. They'll show you where your love for others must finally be balanced by love for yourself. So instead of resenting those who tested your limits, thank them, quietly, sincerely, from within, because they awakened your strength. They exposed your blind spots. They brought your attention back to the neglected corners of your soul that were still waiting for your own protection. Every time you find the courage to say this is not okay, and honor that truth, you rise. Every time you choose peace over the shallow approval of others, you grow. And with every boundary you set, not out of fear, but out of love, you step more fully into the life your soul was always meant to lead. After all, once you begin choosing yourself and honoring your boundaries, you naturally start noticing the deeper, invisible connections life brings your way, those mysterious encounters that feel anything but ordinary. Have you ever met someone and, within seconds, felt something powerful stir inside you? A connection beyond logic, beyond explanation, beyond words. It isn't something carefully built over time. It's something felt instantly, deep in your bones. You look into their eyes and, without reason, sense something strangely familiar, as though you've known them before, even though it's the first time your paths have crossed. This is what many people call a soul connection. And in the teachings of Buddhism, it's believed that certain souls are destined to meet, not to begin something new, but to continue something eternal. Unlike typical relationships that grow slowly through shared experiences, casual conversations, and memories made together, soul connections are remembered. They aren't formed, they are recognized. There's no need to convince, explain, or adjust yourself to fit into their world. You meet them, and something unspoken simply clicks into place. It feels like two puzzle pieces finally settling together in a way that was always meant to be. An ease fills the space between you, a quiet comfort, an unforced understanding that seems to transcend the ordinary rules of time and logic. What defines these connections isn't how long they last, but how deeply they awaken something within you. In Buddhist philosophy, this profound sense of familiarity is no coincidence. The idea of interconnectedness teaches us that all beings are linked, not only in this life but across many lifetimes. The souls you meet again and again are woven into your spiritual journey, having traveled beside you through cycles of growth, love, pain, and rebirth. That's why you might feel an unexplainable closeness with someone you've only just met. while others you've known for years remain strangers to your spirit. Your soul recognizes them long before your conscious mind can catch up. These connections are sacred. They don't always arrive with dramatic stories or romantic fairy tales. Sometimes, they appear in the form of a kind friend who stands by you without condition. A wise mentor whose words feel like ancient truths you'd somehow forgotten. Or even a stranger who speaks the exact words your heart needed to hear in a moment of quiet despair. And whether these people stay for years or slip through your life in mere moments, their imprint is lasting. They leave a subtle, sacred mark upon your soul, one you carry with you, whether you see them again or not. What makes a soul connection unlike any other relationship is the purity of its energy. There's no competition, no need to impress, no masks to wear. You can be entirely yourself, raw, vulnerable, unguarded, and still feel accepted, seen, valued, and loved. These people remind you of who you are when the world has made you forget. They anchor you when you've become adrift. They awaken your higher self, gently encouraging you to live more honestly, more authentically, more aligned with the truth of your spirit. Yet, not all soul connections are peaceful, nor are they meant to be. Some arrive with a different, more disruptive purpose. They stir the stagnant waters of your life, unsettling the safety of your comfort zones. They awaken you not with gentle kindness, but with sharp truths that force you to confront what you've long avoided. At first, you may resist them. Their presence feels intense, maybe even overwhelming. You might find yourself questioning why someone so disruptive would appear in your life. But over time, you come to realize they didn't come to offer comfort, they came to spark transformation. These are the souls who refuse to let you stay the same, who challenge your beliefs, reflect your hidden wounds, and demand your growth. And while their lessons may be difficult, even painful, their impact is unforgettable. They leave you forever changed, having pushed you toward the version of yourself you were always meant to become. It's important to understand that not every soul connection is meant to last forever. Some are brief guides, appearing just when your heart is hungry for clarity, strength, or direction, and when their sacred purpose has been fulfilled, they too, like all impermanent things, will gently step away. Once their purpose in your life has been fulfilled, these soul connections may quietly fade away. And that's not a tragedy, it's a sacred truth of impermanence. Some will walk beside you for years, shaping you through shared experiences of healing and awakening. Others will be brief flickers of light in the darkness, intense, unforgettable, but destined to pass. And then, perhaps just once in your lifetime, you might encounter a soul that feels like home, not because they come to fix you, or to complete you, but because when you're near them, you feel yourself reflected back in the truest, clearest way. They don't bring magic into your life. They simply reveal the magic you've carried inside you all along. In their presence, you remember who you are beneath all the layers of fear, doubt, and expectation. Buddhist wisdom gently reminds us that even with these rare, beautiful soul connections, clinging leads to suffering. No matter how powerful or sacred a connection may feel, attachment to its form, to how long it should last, or what shape it should take, inevitably creates pain. Instead of grasping, we're invited to embrace presence, to honor the depth of the connection while it exists, and to release it gracefully when the time comes. Just because a connection is spiritual doesn't mean it's meant to last forever in this physical form. The real blessing isn't in holding on, but in recognizing their soul when they arrive, allowing them to touch your life completely, no matter how briefly, and letting go with peace when their path diverges from yours. If you've ever met someone and felt your heart open in a way you didn't expect, if you've ever lost someone and felt as though a part of your soul still walks beside them, If you've ever cried, not because something ended, but because you knew, deep down, it was divinely timed, then you've experienced this truth. Soul connections are rare, but when they happen, they change everything. They remind you that love isn't always logical, that time isn't the only measure of closeness, and that the soul moves according to a rhythm far deeper than the mind can ever fully understand. So, the next time you meet someone and feel that unmistakable pull in your chest, a quiet knowing you can't explain, don't doubt it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't demand certainty from it. Instead, breathe it in, be fully present, and be grateful, because in that moment, your soul is remembering something sacred. And in the great, invisible design of this life, that kind of remembering is never, ever by chance. As we reflected in the last part, even the deepest soul connections aren't always meant to stay. Some leave, yet their message lingers within you, shaping your journey in quiet, lasting ways. Some of these souls will walk beside you for years, becoming companions on your path of healing, growth, and awakening. Together, you'll share moments of clarity, struggles, and quiet lessons that slowly shape who you're becoming. And then, every so often, you might meet a rare soul, perhaps only one in your entire lifetime, who feels unmistakably like home. Not because they come to fix you or fill your empty spaces, but because in their presence, you glimpse the clearest, most unguarded version of yourself. Buddhist wisdom gently reminds us of a simple but profound truth: clinging leads to suffering. Even with these rare and beautiful soul connections, attachment can quietly create pain if we try to control how long they stay or what form the connection should take. Rather than desperately trying to hold on, we are invited to soften, to embrace presence, to honor the depth and meaning of the connection while allowing it to flow naturally, without fear of when it might change. After all, just because a connection is spiritual doesn't mean it's destined to last forever in this physical world. The real gift lies not in possession, but in recognition. It's about recognizing a soul when they arrive in your life and allowing them to touch your heart fully, whether for a fleeting moment or a lifetime. If you've ever met someone who made your heart open unexpectedly, as though a window was thrown wide in a stuffy room, if you've ever lost someone, yet felt a part of your soul quietly walk with them long after they were gone, if you've ever wept not because something ended, but because somehow it felt divinely timed, then you have experienced this sacred truth. Soul connections are rare, but when they happen, they transform everything. They gently remind us that love isn't always logical, that time isn't the only measure of closeness, and that the soul moves to a rhythm far deeper and wiser than the mind could ever fully comprehend. So, the next time you meet someone and feel that quiet, undeniable knowing deep in your bones, don't doubt it. Don't overthink it. Don't question its value just because it doesn't come wrapped in guarantees or certainty. Instead, take a breath, be fully present, be grateful, because in that moment, your soul is remembering something sacred. And moments like that are never by chance. As you continue moving through your life, carry this with you: no one crosses your path by accident. Every single encounter, whether joyful or painful, whether it lasts an hour or a lifetime, is a sacred appointment arranged by something far wiser than your conscious mind. You may not always understand the reason at the time. Some people will arrive to uplift you. Others will challenge you. A few will break your heart wide open so that more light can enter. But every one of them, every soul you meet, serves a purpose in the unfolding of your spirit. In Buddhist teachings, nothing is wasted, not pain, not joy, not even goodbyes. Every person who steps into your life carries a mirror, a message, or a moment meant to shape the person you are becoming. Some come to remind you of your worth. Some reflect what still needs healing. Some return to balance old karma, and others arrive simply to awaken the dormant parts of your spirit that are finally ready to rise. So, do not cling to those who stay, and do not curse those who leave. Let each soul do what they came to do. Bless them as they go. Honor the connection not by measuring how long it lasted, but by acknowledging how deeply it touched your heart. Let love exist, even in impermanence. Let lessons be enough, even when closure isn't offered. Because the truth is this: the soul doesn't measure life in minutes, years, or decades. It measures growth. It remembers energy. It recognizes truth. So, walk your path with an open heart. Thank you so much for joining me on this gentle reflection today. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to support our journey together by subscribing to this channel. Daily Dharma Wisdom. Leave a comment below and share which connection in your life has quietly changed you. I'd love to hear your story. And until we meet again in the next video, may you walk your path with peace, awareness, and the quiet courage to trust the sacred design behind every encounter.